Hola a todos. We continue to learn more about these irregular preterite verbs. So today we're going to have a hefty list of preterites that are going to be irregular. And we looked at the verbs eat and said and how absolutely irregular they are, in that they don't follow anything. And also the same that they have the same conjugations, and so we have to look into context. So now we're going to look at some of these irregular predicate forms that they're just going to be more on changing their stem, not the conjugation itself. However, on the suffix, so the conjugation piece, you're going to notice that they are not going to have the accent, which is different to what we talked about regular preterite conjugations in lesson 6.3. So keep an eye on those when you're learning these particular conjugations, that there is no accent on these. So these stem changers, we saw that the present tense also has stem changing verbs. Now remember, just because a verb is a stem changing in the present doesn't make it a stem changer in the preterite. So we have to keep them in their own little bubble. Keep the stem changing verbs in the present over there, and now we're creating a new bubble of stem changing verbs in the preterite. And so here is a list that is very good to remember. Please notice the spell changing. So remember when we started talking about the preterite verbs and the car, gar, and zar group, we talked about that there's a lot of spell changes to keep the sound of the particular verb, but also just the spelling thing, that it's a lot more historical rules that I just won't bore you with it. But keep an eye on these verbs, like for example to produce, that have that CIR ending, that are going to then need a J stem changing in it. Okay, so with that, we have one of the last ones for this section, which is the verb to give. And just like, for example, the verb said and eat, they just don't follow a whole lot of things. So it's just its own thing. And the endings are the same as the regular preterite endings. So even though it's a one syllable, for example, here for D, and it's going to follow that. And then here, I'm not sure why this is just a little blurb, because the verb haber we use a lot. And so the preterite, it's only hubo. Okay, we don't have a lot of the yo form and the tu form. No, it's just hubo because we're talking about the quantity. Okay, so those are the verb dar and the verb haber. On your handout, if you're using my handout, this is some of my notes that I shared with you there. And if you're not using it, what are you doing to remember these? Some people like to do digital note cards, paper note cards, their own notes. Please do share with me, send me a quick note and let me know how you are keeping an eye on the fact that there is a lot to remember on these irregularities of the present, of the preterite tense. Now, I do share a lot of silly things with you guys, and I know that this video is quite funny and it's catchy, and so worst comes to worst, it will get stuck in your head. So I'm adding the link for you to take a listen, and maybe it works and maybe it doesn't, but I wanted to share with you. So let me know if you have any questions about the irregular preterite verbs that have stem changes.